In this video, we're looking at one of Batman's most dangerous secrets. Not his villains, not his tech, but his sleep. Comics even show Alfred pointing out that Bruce stayed awake for roughly 80 hours straight, a number that fans still argue about. We'll look at the comic's 80-hour claim, what sleep science actually predicts, and why Batman's habits work on the page but not in biology. You'll see how long the human body can really push without rest, and why Batman's schedule would collapse in reality. So what happens if someone actually tries to match that streak? In Batman Volume 1, number 645, Alfred bluntly remarks that Bruce has had no sleep whatsoever for nearly 80 hours. Other comics, like Action Comics Annual number 1, even show him running on empty for about 3 straight days before finally admitting his mind isn't fully under control. In Detective Comics number 806, Batman is also depicted staying up long beyond human limits, only to be reminded by Alfred that his obsession is tearing him down as much as his enemies. These panels set up an almost superhuman version of Batman's endurance, suggesting he can keep Gotham safe on willpower alone, without the basic human need for rest. But if we look at what happens to real people under those conditions, the numbers don't just fail to line up, they collapse almost immediately. Instead of 3 uninterrupted days awake, the hard limits of biology start breaking things down in the very first stretch. Some science finds that after about 24 hours of wakefulness, reaction time slows to a level comparable to someone who is legally intoxicated. Researchers such as Matthew Walker have shared these comparisons to show just how fast impairment shows up. Even if you feel alert, tasks that demand hand-eye coordination, quick reflexes, or rapid decision-making suffer noticeably. By Batman's timeline, he is still balancing ledgers as Bruce Wayne by day and brawling henchmen at night, but science says his brain would already be stumbling. Pushing past the first barrier only makes the crash sharper. After about 48 hours, your brain can't hold the line anymore and begins forcing itself into involuntary shutdowns called microsleeps. They last a few seconds, but in those instants of blackout, you lose touch with reality. Truck drivers fighting fatigue often drift across lanes or miss turns and later don't even remember doing it. Now imagine Batman scrambling across a rooftop or chasing a getaway car while his mind blanks out not just once, but over and over again. The precision and timing his life depends on would vanish without warning. Comics like Batman Venom number 1 through 5 indirectly highlight this vulnerability. When Bruce pushes himself past physical limits without rest, he has to turn to performance enhancers just to keep going, and it nearly destroys him. By around 72 hours, the damage isn't hidden anymore. Studies and first-hand reports from people in controlled experiments describe hallucinations, seeing people who aren't there, hearing phantom voices, or feeling convinced of threats that don't exist. Paranoia and emotional instability spike, while logistical reasoning disintegrates. At this stage, it's not simply that performance dips. Executive function, the set of abilities that lets you plan, analyze, and react effectively, buckles. You can no longer reliably separate what's real from what your exhausted brain is inventing. By the supposed 80-hour mark seen in the comics, you'd be trying to navigate Gotham in a waking dream, reacting to illusions as if they were real dangers. This is where Batman's very job description reveals the deepest flaw in the myth. He's not just holding a post or checking boxes. He survives on instantaneous reflexes, acute awareness, and flawless timing. Sleep debt strikes at those exact abilities first. Even if his muscles could throw punches, his brain functions, discerning friend from foe, spotting subtle cues in a case, recognizing traps, would be shredded. Past 70 hours, the Batman we recognize wouldn't be a predator of the night. He'd be stumbling, often dangerously, through his own fog of error and confusion. So why did the comics sometimes show it anyway? Partly, it's shorthand for grit, an emblem of Batman's refusal to rest while Gotham is in danger. The panel of Alfred noting nearly 80 hours without sleep is striking because it crystallizes his obsessive drive. But in real biology, that scene doesn't mark a heroic feat. It would mark the point when Batman becomes a liability in the field. A person in that state isn't improving with sheer determination. The body seizes control, through shutdowns, hallucinations, and systemic failure, no matter the willpower behind it. Yet the comics also hint at another possibility, that when Batman isn't shown sleeping, he's still finding ways to steal bits of recovery. In Batman Confidential number 26, for example, he's caught drifting into half-conscious rest in the cave, using even moments of stillness to recover. Fans have speculated that there may be hidden strategies, unorthodox sleep schedules, brief mid-action rests, even techniques that let him survive while others would collapse. And that opens the door to a different kind of question altogether. If the human body can't support the 80-hour myth, what secret tricks might Batman be using to keep himself going? One explanation often suggested is that Batman relies on brief shutdowns of the brain, microsleeps, or on meditation techniques that stand in for real rest. The question is whether either method could actually keep him sharp and effective. Microsleeps are not clever tricks you choose to take. They're brief involuntary lapses that last anywhere from a fraction of a second to around 15 seconds, when parts of your brain simply stop responding. Your eyes might stay open, your posture may not change, but inside, awareness cuts out. You can be listening to someone speak and then suddenly stop registering a single word. Truck drivers often describe regaining focus only to realize their vehicle had veered off course. This is the reality of a microsleep. It isn't controlled and it doesn't restore what deeper sleep provides. Yet in comics, writers like Grant Morrison have sometimes portrayed Batman as if he has trained himself to intentionally drop into controlled micronaps. In JLA number 1, for instance, Superman notes that Batman had apparently slept for less than 30 minutes in 3 days, suggesting that he's surviving on scattered, near-invisible breaks. In Batman Odyssey number 3, we see hints of Bruce closing his eyes briefly between missions while still managing to operate at peak alertness. It's a striking image of willpower, a man who refuses biology itself. But since science sees this claim very differently, microsleeps are a warning sign, not a strategy. They mean your brain has crossed into crisis mode and is forcing downtime. The central issue is that microsleeps never enter slow wave or REM sleep, the stages where the body and brain repair themselves. There are the phases that consolidate memory, release growth hormone, strengthen immunity, and balance neurotransmitters. A clean, direct way to put it is simple. Short lapses may buy you a moment of reduced exhaustion, but they cannot substitute for the deep cycles that do the actual recovery work. Even if Batman could summon them at will, he'd still accrue deficits that steadily destroy his performance from the inside out. Meditation, however, is a more nuanced case. Unlike microsleeps, which arrive without permission, meditation is voluntary, structured, and evidence-backed in some respects. Various studies and modern health writers like the Pioneer note that meditation can improve short-term vigilance, lower perceived sleep need, and reduce stress. In Batman The Widening Gyre number 2, for example, Bruce is shown practicing intense meditation rituals, hinting at inner discipline as a substitute for traditional rest. Other moments, such as in Batman The Cult number 1 through 4, depict him enduring captivity and exhaustion by entering deep trance-like states that allow him to endure without breaking. But here too, the benefits come with limits. These techniques can restore alertness and help you stabilize after fatigue. They allow someone to push through tasks or maintain composure under stress better than if they had no recovery at all. What they do not do is replace the orchestration of deep and REM stages, where essential physical repair occurs. Even the most disciplined meditation cannot release growth hormone into tissues the way actual sleep does, nor can it fully reload the immune system. At best, it creates a temporary cushion that helps you function a little longer. For Batman, that might mean meditating in the Batcave between missions, using focus drills to recenter and power through another patrol. It could mean achieving a state of extreme stillness, stretching minutes of meditation into something that feels like hours of restoration. In comics like Detective Comics number 394, Alfred even mentions Bruce's habits of disappearing into trance-like rest before going back on duty. In lore, this helps explain his near-inhuman drive. In biology, though, these practices are patches, not replacements. He'd be calmer, maybe steadier, perhaps able to fight off lapses in attention, but the underlying breakdown would continue unchecked. And this points toward another angle too often overlooked. Maybe it's not about the random naps or meditative drills at all, but about using a rigid system of scheduled rest to keep himself running. The next question, then, is whether carefully engineered sleep schedules could really let someone live the way Batman is shown to do. Polyphasic sleep is often raised as the one system that could, in theory, explain how Batman keeps going without an ordinary night of rest. Instead of lying down for a full sleep cycle, the idea is to break the rest into smaller sessions spread across the day and night. These schedules have been given names over the years. The Uberman system involves 6 or more 20-minute naps taken evenly around the clock. Dymaxion reduces it even further to 4 half-hour naps every 6 hours. And the Everyman version is a little softer, combining one longer 3-hour block with 2 or 3 short naps. On paper, this sounds efficient, regaining several waking hours every day. In Gotham, that could mean time for Bruce Wayne's corporate role and Batman's nightly patrols, all covered by carefully timed naps. Some comics have even hinted at this kind of strategy. In Batman Gotham Knights number 32, Alfred mentions Bruce having strange, irregular patterns of rest that look nothing like a conventional sleep schedule. In Batman number 655, the very beginning of Grant Morrison's run, we catch Bruce asleep at his desk in the Batcave for a matter of minutes before spinning back into action, an image that matches polyphasic style napping. Writers use these moments to reinforce the idea that Bruce steals time whenever possible, rather than ever committing to a full night's rest. But research shows that while a small number of people may adjust to these routines briefly, the adaptation doesn't last. Most who attempt extreme polyphasic schedules eventually return to a more conventional single block of sleep. The reason comes down to how the body repairs itself. Quick naps may help someone slide into REM sleep faster, which supports memory and emotional regulation. But they cannot replace the deep, slow-wave stages that handle muscle repair, immune recovery, and the brain's detox processes. Without these longer stretches, the body begins to weaken beneath the surface, even if someone still feels alert right after waking. Applied to Batman, the flaws become obvious. His body regularly endures blunt force trauma, knife wounds, concussive blasts, and endless strain from constant training. That kind of punishment requires deep repair cycles in order to restore muscle tissue, stabilize joints, and rebuild the immune system. Skipping them, as polyphasic schedules demand, would not only leave him sore but also slow healing, making each new injury compound the effects of the last. In Batman War Drums, we see the toll of accumulated injuries forcing him into moments of collapse, even when he tries to ignore it. His immune function would drop, so even minor infections could spread. Meanwhile, the lack of deep sleep blocks the brain's chance to consolidate memories and flush out toxins, a serious liability for a detective who depends on clear recall and quick reasoning. The rigid timing required for polyphasic sleep also clashes with his double life. To make the adaptation work at all, naps must occur at exact intervals. That would mean stopping in the middle of a crime scene, a boardroom meeting, or a rooftop pursuit just to keep biology on schedule. Any significant disruption collapses the system, and the physical benefit vanishes. Batman's chaotic and unpredictable reality makes sustaining it impossible. This is where comparisons to athletes are especially telling. Studies of professional players show that when they extend their night's sleep to 9 or even 10 hours, their reaction times, endurance, and overall performance improve noticeably. Coaches and scientists alike encourage longer, not shorter, sleep cycles for peak results. The same research underscores that even small sleep deficits can drag down reaction speeds and increase injury risk. If top athletes, whose workloads rarely involve lethal combat, require more sleep to perform at their best, it follows that someone enduring the physical and mental demands of Batman's life would need at least as much, likely far more. The cost of ignoring that need isn't abstract. Reaction time slow, coordination falters, and decision-making under stress becomes unreliable. These deficits show up in controlled experiments long before hitting Batman's imagined 80-hour wake streak. In his world, those delays mean failing to dodge gunfire, misjudging the reach of a grappling line, or mistaking an ally for an enemy. Far from sharpening him, polyphasic sleep would render him slower, weaker, and more vulnerable. In Batman Hush, Bruce admits that exhaustion leaves him less than perfect even when he refuses to stop. His enemies notice those lapses too. That's why the promise of reclaiming extra hours through polyphasic schedules fades in the real world. The model fails not because the discipline isn't there, but because biology demands more than scattered fragments of rest. Even the most disciplined vigilante could not replace the functions of deep, consolidated sleep cycles with hurried naps. And that brings the problem into focus. The very strategies that look efficient on paper only highlight how unrealistic Batman's sleep pattern truly is. What the comics frame as a symbol of willpower would, in reality, drive any human body past its limits in days. Batman's sleepless drive makes sense as a metaphor for discipline, but the science is clear. No amount of willpower reliably replaces the physiological roles of slow wave and REM sleep. Those deeper stages handle repair, memory building, hormone release, and immune strength, things his crime-fighting body would need more than most. If you want Batman-level output in your life, use meditation or quick naps as short-term tools, but balance them with sleep extension whenever possible to fully recover. Treat sleep as fuel for performance. If you like this myth busting, subscribe for more science meets pop culture breakdowns, and drop a comment. Which Batman myth should we test next?